So, start things off with a little bit of a sunrise. It's better upstairs. It catches things better, but it's actually cool enough right now. You can imagine how early in the day it is. Hey, I'm wearing a shirt finally. Yes, I'm wearing a shirt. I've tried to avoid the mirror so that my fat belly doesn't show up too much, but if it does, it does. I got shorts on no matter what, right? That's good enough. All right. Let's start the operating round. And like in most XX games, the miners go first. They're gonna these aren't miners. They're gonna operate in their price order, and then we jump to the majors on their price order. I'll come back if anything exciting is happening. Oh, what about the story so far? Yeah. We've gotten through sort of the dull part of the game, I think, or the more, I don't know, the less chaotic portion of the game, where the miners just kind of grew out and got to the point where we had some mergers, and therefore we have a couple of corporations out there, but also other players have gone out and picked up some of the remaining miners. We got a little friend here that I don't like there. It's okay if he's on the table. I hope I didn't hurt him too badly. And a couple of people have invested in other players' shares, but unlike most XX games, this doesn't feel like a game where you're going to see a lot of investment happening. All right. After the miners, we'll kind of come back for the majors because I think they're going to do something interesting, but the miners might. Those new rich miners have just gone and ate up all but 3 of the 3 trains. And it's one each, Their cash is gone, and you can see we're starting to see more and more green tracks showing up. Their cash is gone, but that's going to be a pressure on the other miners to get out, right? So Hartford and Connecticut, it might make sense for them to merge. Simply with the idea of there are only going to be so many majors out there. I might actually merge and convert at the same time or something. That doesn't sound like it's going to work very well, though. It sounds like you need a lot of cash. We'll see if he makes shit tons of cash with 3 miners. But, again, first time playing, I'm making some strategic errors, which I don't mind doing. Screwing up the rolls to the extent that I had been, that's not acceptable. But yeah. And as the WNR goes, that's the last of the 3 trains. The next train purchase kills all the deuces, which is an interesting option for various people. I mean, you don't really want something like this running and going well. Of course, he's next, but he doesn't have the money to do anything. He shifted his trains around, and now he's like, "Gah, I took a hit for what?" Was not expecting the train rush to hit so hard, so fast. Like, everything else had been so static, and I kind of looked and said, there'll be enough trains for everybody. But some of these corporations are definitely going to be interested. The Boston and Albany is almost certainly going to buy one, just to kill. Sure, it hurts the Worcester, Nassau, and Rochester a little bit, but he's got a 3 train. You know who doesn't is, who went? The NYNH up here does not have. He missed by $5. I didn't have a way of increasing my revenue just because I'm stuck in this little corner down here. I can't improve my run. And, I hooked up down here to get into New York, but it doesn't look good. I can't do a merger with the company that I had intended to anymore. So now I've got to start something new or do something else or whatever. We'll see when the merger run happens. At least I'm early in the sequence, which means I get a chance to, grab one of the corporations But it's not going to be in a pleasant state. First of all, I got to put my money in. I'll be holding it on 2 shares. I'll have like less than 50% of what I had before. But I can release IPO shares and collect up essentially, half my cash. And a few of the others, nobody's anywhere near the 300, but I'm actually considering taking the Hartford and New Haven and paying all my cash, or nearly all of it, for the Connecticut Valley's 3 train. I don't know if that'll help or hurt what it'll do. So it can definitely make Hartford and New Haven a stronger railway and one that'll last longer. Connecticut Valley, of course, gets hurt in its income for that. They might end up just making a merger. But Connecticut Valley on its own is kind of interesting. Adding the Hartford and New Haven doesn't water down the stock, it makes it bigger. But it means I have to throw $80 in to get... No. It means I don't have to throw $30 in to get a share. Geez, I don't know. I really don't know. But it would also throw a fair amount of cash over there. But then this wouldn't be generating cash as quickly, is the whole problem. I just I don't want to throw the Hartford and New Haven in on its own, because then I owe $100 for the second share, and that sounds kind of ugly. Of course, 3 trains ain't permanent, and if I don't have a corporation, I'm not able to keep my miners afloat, right? Beyond a certain point. At some point, permanent trains come in, they're going to wreck the miners, and the only way to keep them afloat is to fund them out of one of the public corporations. So obviously every player needs at least one well-funded public corporation, right? What's kind of cool about these is it's a single certificate. Sure, you're only going to be running 1 train later in the game, but it's a single certificate that's able to get you, a pretty decent earning, I think. But it doesn't get you any stock value. That's always a problem. Oh, gosh. I just don't know. But I should do it now if I'm going to do it. Of course, I could buy a 3 train and get to there, but that would really wreck the Connecticut Valley forever. So why don't we buy that 2 train and see what that means? And that's going to mean we're going to hit the major corporations. Now remember, they can lay 2 yellows, but there's not a lot of room left on the board after all those miners have gone. NYNH made its run, paid out at like 8 a share, has enough money to buy itself a 4 train. If I don't buy one, the Boston and Albany is going to buy it. So I might as well screw them over, right? It's going to screw over the New York and New Haven, but here's the thing. The New York and New Haven, I'm going to get a chance, I think. No, not necessarily. I may lose it already. See, if priority was a little closer, but priority means this guy gets first chance to merge, well, Poughkeepsie and the Eastern is definitely going to go into something. Is it going to take Albany and West Stockbridge with it? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Who cares, right? But one of... No. Corporations. Yeah, there are corporations available. No problem. I have no problem whatsoever. There are a ton of corporations available. I was thinking the miners, there's only 2 miners left. What the hell? What am I going to do? Those things look so helpless now. Like, I can't imagine that anyone's going to buy them. The only reason to do so is you have it by a company, you have it by a train from one of your corporations, or a miner or whatever, and then you do a merger or a conversion in the next round so you don't lose it. But that's going to be a diminishing opportunity as well. There aren't a hell of a lot of corporations. There's a lot more miners out there. So it's a thing to think about, right? So people holding 3 of them are probably thinking, I may want to merge to make sure I don't lose 2 of them. And then I'm only with 1 at risk, and then I can do a conversion to bring the other one into play. And you know, the mindset and everything here is going to impact the game heavily. So this is where the chaos in this game occurs, is the managing of the transition from minors to majors. And it's an interesting, gameplay-wise, it's very interesting. Other conditions, you know, the more historical or realism or whatever you want to say, I feel I'm a little bit more worried about. I also have the option of releasing shares. Do I want to release shares? Do I want to throw $500 into my company treasury? Well, it doesn't lower the price, but I get that $500 if other people buy it. I don't feel like there's any terrible interest except for one thing. Oops, those people were holding Boston and Albany's. Not the New York, New Haven. Okay. Yeah, so I've got kind of a, well, which way do I want to do it, man? I don't know. But I want to buy that Fortran. And I don't think it's of much importance, given that nobody's holding any shares, whether or not I release those IPOs. If somebody was holding my shares, I might want to throw more out there, just to make sure that the bank pool, that I can get my 50% in the bank pool. And here's the thing, if somebody's holding 2 shares of my company, I'm going to trash it. So it's very good that nobody invested big on that, because here's how you do it, or here's the mechanism that you'd apply. So somebody's holding 2 shares of my company. Well, no, because I can't sell to the bank pool either. Yeah, nope. I might still use it as a feeder, or something along that line. But yeah, you still need priority to trash a company. I thought that you were able to, lock them out so that they can't sell, and then dump it on them. But no, you can lock them out and then make it horrible. But you're still holding the presidency, and you're not able to sell if you lock it out. So yeah, there's good reason not to dump things in there. I feel like there's more flexibility if I leave them in my hand as long as possible. Unless I wanted 2 Fortrains, but I'm pretty sure I do not want 2 of the top-end non-permanents. I'll be back in a moment. That wipes out all the deuces, which of course hits my own train. But you can see I've done a lot of damage to my neighbors too, which is always cool. Yellow and green tracks still available. Miners can own no more than 1 train for the remainder of the game. I don't think anybody got 2 3s shuffled onto them. And majors can only own 3 until phase 6, when it drops down to 2. So nothing too exciting. There are a fair amount of 5 trains in this game. There are 4 of them, and 3 6s. So there's actually more trainage than there is in 1830, which, if the miners die early, might be kind of a stagnation factor. But if people are able to shuffle permanent trains onto their miners, then it could actually still lead to a relatively rapid late train rush. But this is the early one where the fours come out, and yeah, bang, bang, bang. We is done. And on to the Boston and Albany, which now doesn't get a run. Still gets the late track, though. And Albany buys a pair of fours. The intention being, I gotta buy this then. I gotta knock the Worcester out right now, or turn it into a corporation, which I don't want to do. Do I want 2 fours? I don't want 2 fours on there if I'm not shifting one over to the Worcester. But my idea is to make that mid-game big runs. Those sometimes can be really, really potent and get you a lot of money. But the Worcester, this doesn't really have a lot of big runs. A 4 and a 3, that would be, the 4 could be 1, 2, and out this way, or it could cut around that way. I mean, I can use the 4 and the 3. I can buy a third train right now. That would fuck the Worcester over for a little while, for its next run. How big is its next run? Its next run would actually be fairly large. I like the idea too much not to do it. So I'm going to. This is the kind of thing that I like to do. But I'm not convinced that it's definitely a good idea. And how badly is he doing? Well, I feel like he's a little behind. So, on the maximum of shake things up a little bit, buying that extra train might just be a brilliant idea. Didn't make any money, drop back. We're actually going to be low on cash. We only have 40% of our company, but we get an operating round to make up some of it off the B&A. With 2 people holding B&A shares, that's where all the money came from for this. I could have, of course, released more shares if I want to, but I don't. And they're released at 100. Even if other people buy them for 90, I still get my 100 for it. Again, there's some weird stuff going on here. Because it's all this is IPO stuff. It always goes at par value, but it doesn't really make sense. Like, where is this stock right now? Who's holding it right now? Because anybody can buy it on demand. It hasn't put any money in the treasury. And when it does, it puts the par value, not the current value. So, twist it. We're in kind of trouble town. It's a merger round. I gotta make choices. The first thing to make a choice is the New York, Westchester, and Boston. It has a train. It's fine. Sort of. But the 5s aren't far away. The 6s aren't far away. There's kind of a lot of risk. I'm worried about what everybody else might do. I know I'm going to merge these 2 or release just one of them. Nah, I'm going to merge them both because I want to get rid of the excess miners. Like, having 2 miners is actually problematic, or having 3 miners is actually problematic in the sense that I've got too much at risk if everything crashes down on me. But I think I'm going to pass with the New York Westchester. I'll work through the others in the same way. The BP, it just started, probably not going to. It can't merge. So I'll probably let it live. Plus, nobody's got any cash right now. It's on the Boston and Lowell. By the way, Raid is up there playing by itself for a while. The Boston and Lowell. These poor suckers. I mean, it's not bad, but would I have known that was going to crash? Maybe, because this went first, but I didn't think the 4s would come out all that quickly. I could merge the Boston and Lowell and Eastern. That gets rid of a lot of my risk, right? Here's the problem. The Boston and Lowell and the Eastern being on the same tile means they get one dot. Where do I want that dot? You know, I guess I want it on the eastern, but it's not great. It's not great anywhere I put it. But at least on the eastern, it runs down to here. But it means I don't really need a lot of trains, etc. So by doing a merger, we haven't done one before. We're going to create the Boston and Maine. Hi, turkeys. You guys on? You're just in the trees. Sometimes they're on my neighbor's garage, and that's kind of interesting. I need hands. So I grabbed some of the stuff. Get him these and put them in the treasury, I guess. He's got most of his shit here. And the price. The price is going to be the Boston and Lowell. Put this back here. At 70. And the Eastern at 50. Which means it floats at 120. These tokens both come off. And I'll take that one, I guess, because that gets me into the most useful space. These two go here. I don't get anything for them. I get 120 par value and an earnings marker. And now I have the right to buy more, but I don't have that kind of money. So that's not going to happen. And that means the CV goes next. And again, with the Hartford, I think we're going to convert. This is a shitty place to have a dot for a major corporation. I don't have a choice. I mean, I could just... Oh, no. Wrong one. I'm looking at the AWS CV here. So where are these? Connecticut Valley and the Hartford. I could just do the Hartford. What happens if I do that? Well, we're not at that, so I don't. The Hartford would require that I have another $100, which I don't have in order to do. So I feel like I have to merge in order to save the Hartford. And I can't merge it to the Boston and Providence, so it has to be Connecticut Valley. So we'll do the same thing. Forgot to put the 2 shares that should be in there, which should be 240 more bucks, 250, 300, giving them a shitload of cash to play with. What's the valuation for the Central Vermont? That's going to be the Connecticut Valley and the HNH were the two that I put together. So that comes to, again, a 120 par. There was nothing on the HNH. Does that make sense? I mean, it must have had 2 trains and no cash. Weird. Why did I decide to do that? There goes a Connecticut Valley. There goes an HNH. That means I have 1 token left at $80. Let's go up here. And again, I get another 240 bucks in my treasury for the private companies. Sheer value. Feels a little weird to me. I think because I'm not throwing any of that money in. Like when I do the conversions, some of the money is coming from my hand, so I feel like, yeah, I'm putting money into this. Here it feels like I'm creating money, but what is it being created out of exactly? I don't know. 242.90. I get 15 back and another 100. Am I doing this wrong? Is it possible? I mean, it's possible. Um, the president then trades the minor plus cash in exchange for 2 share pledge. The cash goes into the new... No. I'm not fucking doing this right. That means... So, the way this is written, trades the minor company plus cash, 200 minus twice the minor company's value. So the stock value, God, this is, and I'm not rewinding here, but I can try to fix it. What does that mean? What was the New York New Haven built out of? It was built out of whatever the hell's under there. Fuck. That was the NLN. So that was worth $120. See, here's the problem. I think I put the $200 when it said the president trades the minor company plus cash in exchange for 2 share president certificate. The cash goes into the new major company's treasury. That's the cash difference. The extra money that went in is what has to go in there. Which means that I put $120 too much into the New York New Haven. So he's down to this. Whoops, whoops, whoops. And he may not have been able to do what he just did with buying all those trains, but I don't know. Let's take a look. The Boston and Albany was made out of, I don't remember what it's called. It's whatever was here. The GR. The GR wasn't worth a lot, which is good. That means I put $90 in, so I owe 110 of this. Okay, we'll leave it as it is. They've got their IPO shares to release, etc. And that means the 240 that these guys threw in isn't there. They don't get that extra money. And if we look here, if they merge, we don't talk about throwing any extra money in. Because they already had all the cash all the cash for their par value is already accounted for. The other companies, the new president had to throw in additional cash to float the corporation. Well, that's a reason not to do mergers. Because that capability to throw some extra money in, sure, you're throwing it in for your president's certificate. Either way, you're getting the president's certificate. But you're getting the president's certificate without throwing extra money at all in this case, which is scary. And then again at 120, I don't have that kind of cash, so I'm not buying another share. Whoop! This is getting weird. Okay. I took care of those two. That means the CV and the HNH have disappeared. Again, these cheap slots are gone. Nobody would want to, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. Wow. Okay. And that means our next one is the NYNH. What's their situation? No train, not enough money. It'd be in trouble if it was an operating round, but it's not, so I get to float a new company. Well, this is ugly. New York Central, I guess. NYC is going to par at 100 because that was not a merger. And that puts it on the top of the hundreds. But I just killed the NYNH. That's what I got to remember. Let's pull it out there. It was only worth 65. So that means I only have 130. I have to put 70 bucks in. And that's the cost for, or the value or whatever, for what I held in the minor. And put an NYC there. Put a couple of them there. Put one here. And the NYNH vaporizes. Obviously, things are falling in such different ways than I expected that, you know, all of my planning and thinking is just so bogus, right? No trains, not a lot of money, and I don't have 100 bucks to throw into the treasury, but I do have this is why you need to be able to release your IPOs, because when you start getting forced into these, wow, there's just not enough money to buy a train. Oh no. Wow. All right, that's going to put us on the WNR, which is also in trouble. Another company falls. I got to swap batteries or something. Oh, this battery didn't charge at all. Damn. So the WNR is more of a problem than anything else. In the same situation that we thought we just saw with some of these other companies, right? The New York Central creation looked like it was an ugly situation, but yeah, I got shares and whatnot. But here's the problem with this. The WNR is at 65. It's 130. I need 70 bucks. I have 35. I can't convert. I can't merge because there's not another miner. This is in a death spiral. Now, on its next turn, it's buying a train, so it gets to escape that, right? In fact, it's buying a 4 train and keeping itself alive. So I'm okay. But I panicked at first, thinking, wow, he's just screwed. Yeah. He bought the 2 4 trains. He had an intention. Pay attention to what your plans are, dude. All right. Let's swap batteries again and move on to the P&E, which I believe is going to end up as a merger situation. Final, the Poughkeepsie and Albany and West Stockbridge are being converted over together. Again, reduce risk. Maybe I can get one of those for this guy to fall into. Otherwise, it might end up being a burden, right? Where is it? New York, West. Oh, it's down here. We got our dots in place, our train, our limited amount of money, but the par is only 110. I have enough cash to be able to grab myself another share, which I will do because that'll increase my earnings a little bit over this period. And throw some more cash in there. But, yeah. And the last 4 train is usually a really bad purchase. It opens up the possibility, I don't know if anybody has that kind of money here, but to buy a pair of 5 trains. Now, if anybody had a pile of money on hand, they've got $500 in IPO that they can throw in immediately, right? But because it's a partial cap game, and most of these companies are starting with basically no money. Yeah, they're not really running a very that kind of easy start that you see. Like in 1830, sometimes you'll see a company able to start just about at this point, throw $100, set par at $100, which is the highest you can set it. And late in the game, you have to set it high, okay? Set par at $100, get your $1,000, and boom, you have enough money. They're actually a little cheaper to buy a pair of 5 trains. It comes out to $900, so you could actually set as low as a 90 par. And, you win the game by doing that, basically. If you manage to get that lucky, right? And nobody notices, and somebody has to hand it to you, basically. But I've seen it happen. It's funny because I saw it happening in one game where, it's not that obvious, but somebody has priority. They have the capability to start a company, and someone else goes and buys that last 4 train, or even the first 5 train, right? If stock prices are depressed, or if all companies are filled up, or whatever, there's just ways that this can end up happening. That gets us to the end of the merger. The only companies that have survived of the miners are the 3 little guys, who just started, and they're looking like a really questionable move. The Westchester, Nashua, and Rochester, which is perhaps the scariest of them all, because next time there's no room. Now, he's got room for a train, but here's the thing. Each of these other miners, there's only 2 major corporations left. Each of these other miners is in sort of a competition of, I could be a burden at the end of the game if I don't turn into a corporation now. But some of them may not have the cash. Like this one. No, it's player cash is the issue. So he doesn't have much player cash. He doesn't have much. I don't know. There's not a lot of cash anywhere. I haven't paid for my share nor transferred it yet. As the NYW goes, I laid this track. It is going to run its big 3 train for 50, 80, I guess 90, 45, and 45. There's not much else I could do. I could buy a train off the D&H. Yeah, that doesn't sound wise. It's so hard. I looked at this and said, oh, BP, it's a new corporation. Let's double yellow. No. It's still a miner. It's hard for me to notice the miners when they're relatively new. Like, I know, the counters look different and whatnot. So that means I'll upgrade Worcester, I guess, and take the best money I can and hope for the best. At least I get a guarantee. It's like these first 2 miners, they're going to be the ones that turn into corporations, assuming the players have enough money. He has enough cash to do it. By the way, you can't sell shares to do it. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, he may not have wanted to buy this, but it turned out it was okay because he ran this. But, yeah. You might be cash poor and not able to start your corporation the same way that this guy would have been. And he probably should have started. Like, if he had the money, he should have started it, because this situation doesn't look all that good either. A bit of a dick move by the BP to lay this monstrosity into the mountains. Sure, a brown upgrade fixes it and all, but that's just adding more pain to the WNR there. And our run is going to be 35-35. 2 prospective losers. The Hudson makes its little run. The WNR doesn't make any money this turn. It didn't have a choo-choo. But it buys a train for everything it's got, minus $1, just in case I crash and I need to transfer something. I think it's always a good idea to keep $1 there. Do I want to upgrade something? I don't have any money to build track, so probably not a bad idea to upgrade that. Got how the market works in this one. This guy paid out, but he only paid 8 a share, which means he did not pay out enough to advance in the stock chart. The reason I noticed that was I looked and said, hey, B&M's paying out at their value. Wait a minute, that's important in this one. It's always hard for me to remember that. I know it's become a fairly common thing, especially in the flat track games, to have this. If you match your value, 29 had something like this. If you match your value, you get to go forward. If you pay 0, you go back. If you double your value, you go up 2 spaces. Well, B&M is able to run a 20 run or a 12 run, 12 a share, going through here. But I have not yet laid a track. Do I have a desire to? I mean, eventually, I don't know. I guess I can come out of Cape Cod. It's $192 into here because of all the IPO shares, which is pretty sweet. And we go forward. I like to flip these. It's getting complicated enough that I feel like I have to. And that's going to get us to the Central Vermont, which also is running for the first time. Also has a train, which feels weird to me. And Central Vermont also runs a rather nice little run coming down this way for 12 a share as well. Paying that out, but before I do that, I bought myself the first dot to be purchased in the game. This looks like a really key location, especially for this company, so yeah, we're doing that. And that puts us to, who's next here? Something that looks, Delaware and Hudson. I was going to say something that looks a little bit like a Swedish rail. I have the 18 SVEA that I kind of previewed or whatever. Got a train? Got monies? I do not have dots. What's up here? That goes here, and one goes here. That's what I need. Because I got to make my decisions as well. Oh. Yeah, fucking 4 trains. Screw it, man. One of those will buy, right? There's no reason to, because they're going to be converted from something that currently has a train on it. So whoever buys it is buying it to break the world. Oh, no. Here we go. Here's who's going to buy it. Oops. Sucks to be you. With an upgrade, we're able to make the 11 a share that we need to make for the D&H. This is not an important dot. I don't reach any important dots. I could have connected up here and maybe gotten something useful, but I don't see anything that really looks all that important, and making the stock value seems like a good idea. One thing that feels so funny, the option to start a corporation, not a private or a minor, but to start a corporation has nothing to do with the priority. Now, it turns out that his NWB, no, oh, NYW, yeah, is going to be the uh, the first company to be able to take one of these. But it's just odd. Like, I'm usually looking at it as, I got priority. That means I get to start one of the last couple corporations, and I get to be one of the guys with two corporations. It's true. Now, in one case, I'm not sure two corporations is all that good. Uh, yeah, him buying that four train is gonna. So people are gonna get five trains very quickly. Now, how many of them? I don't know, but this is the thing. Everybody's got the capability to release $500. Now, these corporations are making some good bank off of their runs because they have so many shares sitting in their treasury. But if you can get two five trains, how do you engineer that though, right? Like, the Hudson's got a train on it. It can't buy this train. I can't get rid of this. And as soon as the first five is bought, we're down to two trains per corporation, right? Or is it when the six happens? It is when the six happens. Very interesting. So one of the problems with 1830 is engineering to get to five trains on an existing company is really tough. And it's usually a great deal, but it's really hard to do. But a new corporation ready to start can do it. In this game, apparently, you're allowed to have three trains running until the six comes out. And that's the thing. They have the same rust ratio. So it's like, I'm just so used to the 1830 flavor, and it's like, wow, this is really permissive to people rushing the trains a little bit more than I'm used to. All right, that's going to put it on the NYNH over there with a lot less money than they used to have. Yeah, that does not look pleasant. And I don't necessarily see. I'm the guy who owns the NYC. The NYC goes next. I could fuck around because of that, but I don't see two. Sometimes there's great options when you have two corporations in a row. For example, if the NYC had a shit ton of money, it might be possible for me to buy a four train and set it up so the NYC with no trains on it buys two fives. I don't have enough money to do that. I also don't have enough money to buy the four and the five, though, which is very troubling. And I'm beginning to think the NYNH may want to buy that four train. It has shares to do that. And then let the NYC buy the first five train. That puts the NYNH in questionable shape, but it'll be making good money, and I have shares of it and whatever. Not many. Nobody has many shares of anything. Wow. NYNH is going to buy a dot. I got to think about this. I laid this track. My run is going to be 1, 2. Oh shit, that's no good. I thought I could get through. Maybe I don't lay that track. I think I buy this dot. It's more important. I cut this, which is interesting, but I thought I was getting into Boston by doing that, which I'm not. All these little horns of happiness are going the wrong way for me to take advantage of. They will eventually, or something will eventually break open for me heading this way, and I think it's an important piece of track for me to lay. But is it the one I want to lay? Because right now I'm getting 40, 80, 120. Yeah, I'll pay out that 12 a share. Wasting the money, given what I'm going to do, is kind of painful. Oh, wait. Wait. Share issue is at the end of the operating turn. I can't issue shares and buy a train. Fuck. Well, that doesn't do me any good then. Yeah, the whole plan was to issue these shares. In 1870, you can issue your shares or release your shares in order to buy something. Here, you've got to plan a turn in advance, and I am so bad at planning. Like, I like to have sort of vague plans, but when it comes down to like that kind of timing, I'm always screwing shit up. So, like, if I release my shares, I probably want to, but I don't know. I'm getting piles of money. The fours are going to last for a while. Shit. I really want, like, I needed to have done it before, and clearly I wasn't, thinking along those lines. But at this point, I'm like, oh, I can release my shares and buy a train. No, it's after you buy a train you're allowed to release your shares. And that really crimps my capability. I understand the whole idea behind it, but it definitely makes it makes life harder. Like, I'm very much an opportunist, and I like to keep things kind of. I like the idea of keeping my shares and making the decision when I have to. And I don't know what the situation's going to be at the beginning of next turn, right? I may need the cash, and I won't be able to raise it quickly. Wow, that blows. Fuck. Yeah, buy trains, then optionally issue shares. Fuck. Well, I guess I just run. What did I say it was? It's a 12. Same as these guys. So I can't issue shares. That means the NYC is fucked. Because they need to issue shares to do what they're going to do. What I think that means is that I need to get enough money on the NYNH to buy something. I do not have enough cash here to do to buy the current train. I do have enough cash in my pocket to buy it, so I'll be forced to buy it if I don't buy this. My par, my stock value will be lower than anybody who tries to save themselves and buy buy one of those corporations. So I could fuck with other people's lives, but there are those other people have existing trains. I don't. So I'm going to be forced to buy that 4 train eventually. Oh, something's out there. I think it's just a bird. The NYC does not exactly have great track. Who's out there? Boy. Because I've got 2 in a row I could release with the NYNH right now because nothing's happened yet. Problem is other people are going to buy 5 trains. All right, I think what I want to do is I want to release 5 shares of NYNH into the bank pool. Actually, let's make it 4. 4 would give me my $500 that I need. I'd only need another 100 from here, which I'll have in hand or get from my run or whatever. So I may actually only release 3 with the NYNA. That means the NYC lays some track. That gets them up into here. I don't want to put a dot. I kind of don't have money to, but I fall back, making no cash. And now I have to buy a train. So I spend 50 bucks of my own money. I could have sold, I mean, I couldn't because I have the cash on hand. But if needed, I could have sold something. And again, I think I need to release shares. I'm going to release 5 for them to get capital for a permanent train for the NYC as well. The NYC does not look like a good company, but whatever. One more company before we get to the merger round, which is the Boston and Albany. Also has no permanent train. Probably needs to release a bunch of shares because of that. But I do have train right now, and I do have a bunch of shares that are going to produce money for me and for people. So let me figure out what I want to do. I need tea. That's the problem, and that's why I'm saying, oh, I only have one more company. Let me just get it done. Okay. A 4 and a 3, yeah? 1, 2. I could lay a dot first. This doesn't look like a terrible place for a dot. This doesn't look like a place that I reach unless I lay a couple of track. And that looks like an even better place for a dot. Of course, cuts the WNR out, but this might be gone. Who knows? And the WNR is in a place that gets them east to west. So I hate to spend money. Do I have money? 25, 35. Nope, I don't have enough money to lay a dot. And I gotta switch battery lines. I have these stupid things, and I tried moving them. They're broken at this point. Anyway, I managed to get myself a big old 23 run by laying this track, no dots. And that gets me, like a 3 running through here and a 4 running up there. Oh, no. 4 running, actually, I can do better than that. Let's run the 4 train like this. 70, 11, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 25 instead. And that's a bell ringer in the sense that that pushes me up to here. And also makes lots of money for a lot of people. You might make some arguments of, well, do you want to swallow that 250? No, I don't, because I've got too much financial problem right now. Like, I have to float this thing and stuff like that. Assuming I get a chance, which I won't. But it gets me a fair amount of cash in place. Do I want to release shares? Nah, I wanna run those dual trains and get, my $100 a round off them. I think. I'm not sure. That's going to put me to the merger round, and make some tea. Check my raid. I checked it before. It needed to run some more, but I think it's done by now. And I tend to be back down here to get myself through the stock round before it's bedtime. And it's all daytime and everything, but, it's not hot yet. The temperature has cooled quite a bit. Like, I don't have to be down here for the temperature. I was not down here for the temperature the days that it was at its worst. But yeah, it's only supposed to hit like low 90s today, I think. Yesterday was like 95, 96, somewhere in there. Um, I'm okay with those. I am actually okay with 100, just not up in the loft because it gets hot up there. The NYW converts into the Canadian National Railway somehow or another. And since that part at 100 doesn't cost me any extra money, do I want to buy extra shares of it? I don't think it's in my best interests. I think the cash that I have on hand is better spent trying to defend things or whatever. I don't feel like Canadian National is a particularly desirable thing right now, to tell you the truth. Let's give that there. But, yeah. So that, because it was just a conversion part at 100, the company was 100, so it all works out. And then I think the BP is going to go over as well to the last thing, which will be the Providence and Worcester. Basically, there were two horrible choices here. Providence and Worcester, yeah, that's believable down here, kind of, sort of. Kind of. And although that gives me an opportunity to buy additional share, I don't really want to. There are better investments. Neither of my corporations is particularly attractive. You know what I'm holding, the Boston and Albany, but I don't want to hold two of them. Do I? No, there's only allowed one train on here, so a lot of juggling would have to take place. But yeah, we're seeing, looks like two of the miners are going to go down the toilet unless something magical happens to save them. It's probably not worth saving them. But on the other hand, I only got 20% of this. I got 50% of that. Might very well be worth saving them. And then, try to get a train on one of these somehow. I don't know. The nice thing about a private or a miner is that, shit, this battery's like dead already. What the hell? The nice thing about the miners is that you can lose them and they just cost you the miner, right? Now that feels horrible, but if you lose a major, like if you're unable to fund the train, you lose the game and you're wiped out. And also your investors, whoever they are kind of wiped out as well. So it's kind of, gosh, that's dangerous. Which is one reason to think really carefully about holding Boston and Albany stock, because that might end up worthless. It's great right now. It's not very, this wasn't charged either. It's not the norm in an 18XX for stock to become valueless. And so it presents a real risk of a type that I'm not used to seeing, and one that in a way is actually really appropriate. For the most part, I complain about this for its sort of realism. But in that case, yeah, if something's out due to creditors, you're probably not getting much back on shares. And, if it doesn't, it depends on how the bankruptcy goes, right? But anyhow, it's not really creditors is the whole problem here, is that the company still has crappy trains and whatnot. It's not like it's in debt, but there may be things that aren't being represented. So a little bit of hand waving and you can say, yeah, it works. All right, well, that is the end of all mergers. And we go into the stock round. We got two real doomsday devices sitting out there that nobody's going to buy, I assume. But I'll put them over here just in case. And that'll give me some room. I can shift up if I need to. And we start here. What do you want to buy, buddy? You want to buy a Boston and Albany? See whether or not it lives? Do you trust what he's done? I don't know. A quick look at all the companies out there. Who goes first? Who gets the chance to get that 5 train? That's got to be a bonus, right? Even if he only gets one, which is probably the case, because I don't think the Hudson's going to do anything funky. Are there any privates that are able to do anything screwy? There are not. They're both with train, which means this guy's going to have 2 trains for a little while at least. He seems appealing. Let's take a look at the next one. Central Vermont. Doesn't have as much money. This doesn't have 500, but he's close. I think I'm going to buy a Boston and Maine. So now this is where this game just gets wacky as far as I'm concerned. And the par for that's 120, but I have to pay 130 bucks. Luckily I have that. That 130 does not go into the treasury either, though. Instead, one of these goes in, and I get a Boston or Maine. I feel like that's a safe company, unless the Hudson gets, like, that permanent train somehow. And then it's not. You know, but again, it's probably not a great idea unless you can get a train on each of them. Because... And this is another thing. Corporations are not necessarily a bonus thing in this game. In a lot of XX games, you want the most corporations. Sure, there's danger to doing that. You could end up, you know, overtraining and stuff, like having too many trains and shit like that, where you're like, yeah, I didn't really realize how dangerous that could be. But in general, it's a really good idea to have the most control you can over the game. And there's also the bonus of the president's share being 20% for certificate limits, which, good God. I mean, I know I'm not near it, but where are they? Yeah, they're not there. Ah, there they are. So certificate limit is 13. Yeah, we're nowhere near. Nowhere near. But I don't know how long the game's going to go. Anyway, that's his job. He purchased. He doesn't want to sell a D&H because then I'm assuming that means he can't rebuy it. I'm not positive. I don't remember seeing that. But may not have sold it in the same stock round, yeah. That's pretty standard. But I'm not sure how necessary it is, to tell you the truth. But anyway, I mean, it means that the stock rounds will end, at least. All right, next player has some cash too. I don't know where I'm going, but I've got a battery issue here. BM sold out like hotcakes. Basically, everybody bought one who could. Didn't have cash for it. And including the president. Now there's a big old stack of cash there. And extra shares I could redeem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 bucks. With a run, with a swallow, I might be able to buy 2 5Es, and I actually am allowed to hold 3 trains. So everybody buying a share of that may have just handed him the game. Although he only has 30% of it, so it's not like it's a huge thing, right? And if everybody's holding shares of it and it's got a couple of permanent trains. But if he has 2 permanent trains, that's a train that he can spare for the Hudson when it crashes, which is an intriguing option and something that allows him a great deal more latitude than anyone else at the table. Investor confidence improved the state of the corporation, improved confidence. He's in a good position. People could have held off, but if somebody buys it, it's like, well, am I going to just miss out on the best looking, safest thing? The only thing that maybe is safe. But if it is the only thing that's safe, well, and everybody else is going bankrupt, right? No, I mean, people are going to make people have enough money to keep at least some of these companies alive, I think. But here's the really ugly thing. If you bankrupt a company, if you go bankrupt for whatever reason, all of your companies that you're still president of go bankrupt. Now, that may be hard to engineer, to have more than one of your companies disappear from the board at the same time, but it's possible, I think. You wouldn't want to do it, right? But I'm just saying, companies that look like they're secure may go under because of some other company going under. Which, again, it's kind of cool. It's like the banking crisis, right? All right. We're going to push this here, and I think this was an interesting enough series of events that we want to load this up as its own video, and that'll probably be it for today, though. Being relative, I wanted to say tonight, but it's obviously not night, but also I'm probably going to play some at some point on this Thursday.